Good afternoon. Today I'm going to tell you how I came to be known as Evel Knievel when I was a reservist in the Canadian Armed Forces. So it was 1974. I was pursuing my first university degree at the University of Regina. And of course summer rolls around and you have to get a job because I came from a poor family. My dad had died when I was 11, and so I had to work, to go through university. And so I obtained a job at the Dairy Queen. Well, I found out there that I don't have the fine motor skills to make ice cream cones like the curlicue, and it had to be the right weight, between about an ounce either way, sort of thing. And I couldn't improve. So eventually the boss decided to let me go. And I said, well, I'm trying really hard. He says, I know you are. He says, I would have let you go before this if So anyway, so what had happened is my sister had been a reservist for 2 years, and she was younger than I was. And I thought, well, there's an ad in the paper in the Regina Leader Post, and they were advertising for people for militia for the summer. So come July, I had joined and done all my paperwork and gone through my medical, all that type of thing. And so we had to take our basic training. So marching, of course, saluting, like John did today. And of course, then we also had to take training on semi-automatic rifles, submachine guns, 9mm pistols, that type of thing. And then, of course, they end up taking us out into the field and playing infantryman. So we were crawling through the bushes with a rifle and a backpack and, helmets on with branches in so you could be camouflaged. And it was interesting, and I can't say that I really liked it, but it had to be done. So at the end of the summer, that was about 6 weeks employment or so, and at the end of the summer you had to decide whether you wanted to stay in or not. So I decided, well, I needed a job all year round, why not? And it works into my university schedule. So you have to decide what unit you want to belong, whether it's supply or infantry or artillery or a driver. And so I decided I wanted to be a driver. Now, I had never driven in my life. We didn't have a vehicle at home, and so I didn't have a license, not even my learners, nothing, so I'd never driven. So one day, the next spring, the powers that be, the sergeants, decided we were going to go on a road trip. So we've got a long convoy of vans and jeeps and 2.5-ton trucks. Now these 2.5-ton trucks were called deuce and a halves, and they were built in 1953. So by 1974, they were all over 20 years old. So, and of course they had been taking over some pretty rough ground out in the field. But, you drove what you had, right? So they had manual brakes and manual steering. And again, I'd never driven before, but I was matched up to a deuce and a half. So because I'd never driven before, like I said, not even a civilian vehicle, they paired me with a kind of a supervisor, somebody who'd been in for a while. So I guess I did okay. I'd observed other people driving, of course, and they kind of told us how to turn it on and everything. Didn't have a key. Those trucks did not have a key. You just flipped the switch. And like I said, they had manual brakes, manual steering. So I guess I was doing okay. We were driving out of Regina, and of course sped up when we got north of Regina on the highway. And there's this long convoy, like I said. So one thing about the Army that you learn is that they never tell you where you're going or how long you're going to be away, or if there are going to be other things that happen. So we're just driving along, and my supervisor, the guy who was supposed to be supervising me, went to sleep. I guess he figured I was doing okay. So we're driving along, and all of a sudden, because they don't tell you where they're going, everybody's turning 90 degrees onto a different highway. Well, I'm trying to slow this vehicle down because it's hurtling 2,000 pounds or whatever it is, 2,000 tons, hurtling down the highway. And I'm trying to put on the brakes, manual brakes, and I'm just a-cranking. And it's not turning, and it's not slowing down very much. So I had to take the route of less evil I decided the safest way was to, actually I don't think I thought this fast, but I did what I had to do, and I jumped the ditch between a stop sign and a light standard. And there was a small car coming up with, I swear these people were probably 80, and their eyes were just like this. And I didn't hit them, which was nice. Anyway, when I jumped this ditch, the deuce and a half actually stood on its four wheels. I couldn't believe it. Didn't roll, didn't. And of course, I don't even remember who was with me, actually, to tell you the truth. I must have knocked it out of my brain who this person was, because we actually had a reunion, a militia reunion in early September this year. And I was trying to find out who had actually been along with me. But I was surprised that when I got out that I didn't get charged. I didn't get in trouble. All I know is my sergeant said, from now on, we're calling you Evel Knievel. So it was something that I certainly remembered, and I'll never forget it. The sad thing was the people who called me Evel Knievel weren't able to come to the reunion, but that's okay. We had a good time, and I've never forgotten it. But I learned to drive after that. Thank you.